right. You know, a while ago, I used to hear the question fairly regularly, how come there's no miracles? Why don't we see healing? Where's the miracles? And I started to realize that if we pay close attention to what's happening, we do see miracles. They are. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Kevin. I appreciate that. Faith. Faith in Tennessee, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to give a praise report about my dad and say, hallelujah, Yahuwah is so wonderful. My father went into the hospital on Tuesday not knowing if he was having double bypass or triple bypass. He ended up having a triple bypass. He came home today. He left the hospital and came home today, 3 days later. So Yahuwah is so wonderful. He is healing him right now as we speak, and I am just so thankful. I am so thankful that he is working in our lives.
Amen. Praise Yahuwah. Thank you for sharing that. It's always nice to hear good reports. It's excellent. Thank you. Joyce, you got a smile on your face.
Yes, everybody know I moved this year. It's my first winter in my apartment. And I received a bill I cannot afford at all, not at all. So I said, yeah, if you want me to move from here, you gotta work on my case because I won't do anything. And I just give what I can, and that's it. So this time I said, because I'm used to be a truck driver, so truck driver know where they go. So I plan everything by myself, and I said, this time I won't do this. So yesterday I received a phone call from the electric, Hydro-Québec here in Quebec. And they told me they noticed that I have a big bill. I said, I'm with you for 25 years almost. So, I never go this way before. It's my very first time. I have a hard time to pay this bill. So he said, you know what? We're going to put you on a special application, whatever it says, and that give me, he cut my bill for 1/3. I got to pay for 1/3 of my bill. So I was crying. I goes, yeah. I goes, hallelujah. I said, be blessed, sir. I don't know. He said, I wish you have a good day. I said, for sure, you give me a great day. And Yahweh bless you, sir, very much. So, this is him because, like I said, it's just like I didn't pay one count. And it was not so much, but it was enough so they know something is wrong because usually this woman pay her bill. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy. Praise Yahweh. He's faithful. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, he is faithful. Thank you. Kathleen, you're up next.
Yeah, I guess I should share something with you anyway. I don't like to. I like to keep this whatever. But anyway, I've had kidney problems for quite some time, and I've had a telephone call with my doctor from Edmonton, and he says that my kidneys are 20 to 25% stable. So, and everything else is okay. My blood pressure is always low, and had that done here. So that's how I'm living right now. Anyway, I feel okay, and just depend on Yahweh to keep me there.
Can we pray for you, Kathleen? Can we pray for you?
Sure.
Father, I just lift up my sister Kathleen before you, and I've seen you work miracles on behalf of others, and I ask that you'll work a miracle on her behalf. I just pray that you would touch her right now and allow your healing virtue to flow upon her. I pray that you give wisdom and insight to her doctors and know how to treat her in a way that would cause the situation to begin to turn around. I just thank you. I just thank you for her. I thank you that you are willing and able to bless her in many ways. So I just ask that you'll do that in Yahushua's name. Amen.
Thank you.
And
Amen.
Joan, I saw you come in there. I wanted to give you a welcome. And I know there's a bunch of people on here that I haven't given a proper welcome to. So I welcome you right now in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, our Kohen HaGadol. And he is why we are here today. Why? Because he lives. He lives, Yahushua lives today. Okay, I'll stop singing. Who's up next here? Let me get some hands. Going to move my chart. Daoud. Oh, no, wait, Daoud, sorry. Walter. Hang on, Daoud.
Yeah, it's actually my wife.
All right, that's better.
So I have a praise report. I have last month or the month before I start mit Shingles. Und die Shingles waren so bad, that war burning and itchy und that war so painful. And so I pray, but there come in my thought, Harit, you have a husband. You talk with him and he anointed you. And I talk with Walter and say, Walter, I think it is time. Look, he see this, that, oh, this looked not so good. So he anointed me. And in this evening, when he anointed me the next day, that stopped right now. And this itchy is not more so bad. So I have so much to say thank you to our Heavenly Father, and of course my husband too, that he is so a strong believer, while he said he is our physician, and sometimes I have not so strong belief than Walter had, but he said, Harit, no, he is our physician and he do this. He promised this, but when we are obedient to his word, everything is possible. And this was possible, and I feel very good. I need not a doctor, nothing. So that's my praise report.
Woohoo! Nice. Thank you, Harid, for sharing that with us. Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, the shingles are not fun.
Yeah,
No.
okay. Tim, I think that the husband, when he is a believer, and he is a strong believer, then I think the man is sometimes more believed than the woman. But he is a big example that he can do this. He can do his wife anointing or friends or whatever. So I have a couple in 22 years. I have a couple experience with this, and Walter is very faithful, and he helped me in many ways. Of course. So this is what I say. So you are a man, or every man is married or have the opportunity to anoint the friends or whatever. He can do this when he is a believer, of course.
Praise Yahuwah. It's a pleasure to have you both in our company on this panel. It really, really is. I have a great respect for both of you, and it's just what an honor. So thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Walter.
You didn't mean me.
Yeah, your hand is up next.
Well, you should start it. That was my wife.
Okay, then we'll put your hand down.
I raised up my hand for her.
Okay, yeah, very good. It sounds like you do a lot of things for her. That's terrific.
Well, she does a lot of things for me.
Yeah? Daoud. Go ahead, Daoud.
Yes. Baruch atah Yahuwah. I've got a double praise report. I got a prayer answered that I've been praying fervently for probably about 3 years. And that prayer was that Yahuwah would imbue me with a gift of discernment of spirits. I know we're moving into a time where that's going to be of a great tool, a great way to see what's going on and to peer into these realms of darkness and know with certainty who's who. So I got this prayer answered in a most unusual way. And it came with its heartbreak, but it got answered nevertheless. And then on the backside of all this, I can see that I got doubly blessed, if you will. Not everybody is not who they appear to be. And I got to see this real close here recently. I had been in association with some people that I held to be family and very close and dear friends of mine for about 3 years now. And I loaned them my vehicle, and they took the vehicle and it broke down, and they repaired it, and they tried to saddle me with the repair bill. And I balked at that. But the long and short of it is that I wound up without a vehicle. And, you know, I put this matter in prayer, and I got to see that these people were not who they presented themselves to be. And I think it's of noteworthy, too, to say that the deception can run really deep, because these were people that, in my opinion, and in my presence, were searching out Yahushua and walking in that without my permission. And the long and short of it is I now have another, and I'm going to be able to attend Passover about 400 miles away from here. And Baruch atah Yahuwah.
Woo! Glad to hear it. I know that's been on your mind, Daoud. It's excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes we have to have patience. Thank you for sharing that, Daoud. Appreciate that. Who's next here? Stacy. Stacy in USA. Where are you, Stacy? There you
I'm
are.
here. Okay, so a question came into Facebook that I was unable to answer. It was actually a series of questions about the B'nai Elohim, the sons of God from Genesis 6, which I answered a series of questions, but the one question I got stuck on is, where is Tartarus? Is Tartarus the same as Sheol, or is it the same as the Abyss, or is it somewhere completely different? Is it under the earth? Where is Tartarus? Can anybody answer? I haven't done a lot of study about Tartarus.
Anybody help her out with that one?
I didn't get a clarity on the question.
Could you spell that word?
Tartarus, Tartarus, Tartarus. We're in the Greek. Let me see. It's similar. Give me just a second. I'll find that word. I think it's Tartaru in the Greek. Well, I don't have it right in front of me, so it'll probably take me a while to find what it is in the Greek. But anyway, it's Tartarus.
Not familiar with that one.
Okay, so let me go back. Tartarus, from 2 Peter 2:4. For if Yahweh spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to its translated as hell, but it's actually G5020, which is Tartarus, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Tartaru, or Tartaros, the deepest abyss of Hades, to incarcerate in eternal torment, cast down to hell, which is the same G5020. From Thayer, it's the name of the subterranean region, doleful and dark, regarded by the ancient Greeks as the abode of the wicked dead, where they suffer punishment for their evil deeds. It answers to Gehenna of the Jews, to thrust down to Tartarus, to hold captive in Tartarus. It's a verb. And again, Tartarus. It's only mentioned once in the scriptures.
Twice.
No, I think that has a link going right back to creation, Genesis 1, where with the abyss. You know, Isaiah told us 7 times, if you want to understand the beginning or the ending, you have to understand the beginning. So the abyss was at the beginning, and apparently it's at the ending too. But that's just a thought right at the moment here. So, but we need a lot more study on that word, G5020.
Did she say the scriptures, Bible?
No.
Okay.
No, that was from Strong's, from the King James Strong's.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't have the scripture
okay.
Bible.
Okay.
So that link to Sheol too, did it?
Oh, that was from, give me just a second. That was from Thayer. That was from the Thayer. I don't know what that is. Thayer Concordance, Thayer.
Oh, Thayer's.
Yes. It's in eSword. Let me look up eSword again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thayer's.
Thayer, let me click on Thayer. Thayer's Greek definitions. That's where that came from.
Okay.
Thayer's Greek definitions.
And so you had questions come in on that?
I did. And I did read, and I've heard some podcasts from Derek Gilbert about Tartarus and how it's related to the, I'm going to get this wrong, Kalu, and basically Greek mythology. And he relates it back to the abyss. But I haven't studied it out enough to give an answer. And I don't know much about Thayer's Greek definition to say if that's correct or not, because as we know, sometimes the concordances and dictionaries can be incorrect. So I don't have the answer.
Okay. We'll have to do some more research on that word and its usages. You mentioned Derek Gilbert?
Yes.
Okay. Look for that.
Let me find that and I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Charlene, did you have any thoughts on that? I know you've looked at that word in the abyss and that.
Well, I haven't looked at 5020, but I agree with you, Tim. I think this is going right back to Genesis 1:2 to the darkness upon the face of the deep, which is connecting to Koshek. And when you study the face of the deep, now I'm going to say something that's not politically correct, probably. But as far as I'm concerned, this cannot be understood unless you understand flat Earth. I think that when you understand the flat Earth concept, I'm not going to call it a theory, but that concept, then only then can you understand this darkness at the base of the abyss, in the very deepest part of the waters, which would be Sheol or hell. And when you put that together with Revelation 9, I think it's the 5th trumpet, where the bottomless pit is opened, there have been wicked angels that have been reserved for this point in time. Now, you can imagine that if they've been locked up and chained up down there for all these 6,000 years, that when they come out, they're going to be pretty upset. And so that's what I'm linking it to, and they will. And once those demons are released, this world is going to be in a darkness that is so dense and so dark that you will be able to feel it. It isn't going to be just night. It's a different kind of darkness, Koshak. So that's where I'm at with that, Tim.
Thank you for adding that, Charlene.
So the earth is flat.
Absolutely, beyond any shadow of a doubt. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it solidly.
I'm looking at a new Strong's Nelson Super Value series, and it says 520 for 5020 is Tartarus, from Tartarus, the deepest abyss of Hades, to incarnate in eternal torment, cast down to hell. So that's the deepest part of Hades, whatever that means.
Yes. Yeah, and onto your comment there, Fritz. Yes, I do believe I'm over 1,000% convinced that the Earth is flat.
Oh, just being facetious.
Oh, okay. Well, since you brought it up, I got to talk about it anyhow. You know, here a little while ago, I'm driving to work. It's dark out, of course. It's very dark out. And I look towards the west to the mountains, and there's a great, big, huge, beautiful moon just glowing like crazy there. And I look towards the east. Of course, to the east of me is all prairies, flatland. And it's dark. Dark, dark, dark. Where did that moon get its light?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, it's a flat earth. And that just takes us right back to Genesis 1.
Yeah.
Yahuwah divided the light from the darkness, because if it was a round earth, he didn't have to do something so foolish as to divide the light from the darkness, because it would have done it automatically on a round earth. But it's not round. Anyhow, I'm going to move on from this topic. We'll save this one for another day.
Yep.
Wow.
What's that?
I think that's amazing.
There's lots more on that, Kevin. Lots more. But we're going to move on here. Okay, April. Where are you, April, sister?
I'm here.
You with the broken arm. Did everybody realize that April broke her arm? I had to tell everyone, April, it's just so sad. You just got over your leg being fixed up.
Yep. Anyway, I just want to praise the Father, because, in the morning I try to remember to pray to save me from the snare and the fowler. Because I have learned in the past that it's a good thing to say and ask for. So it was last Friday, a week ago, today. My friend and I went to Walmart, which is about 50 miles away, and we did our shopping. Came home and I couldn't find my wallet. Couldn't find it anywhere. I looked in all the sacks. It wasn't there. So I thought, okay, I must have left it in her vehicle. So I went over there and we looked all over. Nope, it wasn't there. You know how you get that in your pit of your stomach? Because it had everything. It had my phone, it had my driver's license, it had my wallet, it just everything, credit cards, checkbook. It had everything. I mean, boy, it was a smorgasbord. So anyway, I said, well, I'm going to go to the bank and cancel everything. So I did. That's kind of a hassle. I came home feeling really defeated because, I didn't have anything. So when I came home, we have a lobby downstairs, and here comes my friend off the elevator as I push to get on the elevator. And she goes, come on, we're going to the sheriff's office. I was okay. So we popped into her vehicle, and somebody had turned it in. Had everything in there except my checkbook, which I am assuming that it probably just popped out because they found it on the road, on the highway. I mean, it wasn't like it was like in a secluded place. It was on the highway, and somebody stopped and got it out and turned it in, had everything in there, even my cash. Couldn't believe it. So, you know, I was ka-ching, ka-ching, you know, how much is it going to cost me for a new driver's license and this, you know, had all this. Oh, goodness, It was overwhelming. And then that was Friday. So Monday, I broke my leg. I mean, excuse my arm. But, you know, it was, I was telling the people earlier, when I was falling, I could see people pulling over just like in a blink of an eye, and they dashed out and they helped me up. And I thought I was okay. But when my hand started swelling, I had to go see the doctor. Yeah, I broke it. But, you know, there's another blessing. Yes, it's broken, but it's lined up so well, I don't have to have a cast. And they want me to be working with it so it doesn't get, you know, stiff. So I'm able to play my guitar and praises and sing to Yahuwah. And it's nice that I'm by myself. But, you know, all these things are blessings. I don't have to cast, and I can do things with my hands, you know, just I can't push and I can't pull, but everything's really going well. So I just want to praise the Father for the Son, whose blood has been shed for all of us that have blessings to just, I mean, we're taking an hour, almost an hour just to praise him right this night. And it's absolutely awesome how it feeds our souls. So thank you very much.
Fabulous praise report. Absolutely terrific.
So it was superficial fracture then, huh?
No, they said it wasn't. They said it was a complete break, but it was lined up. It wasn't a hairline fracture. It was a complete break, but it was lined up. And so they wanted to leave it alone if I could behave myself.
and so can you?
Yes, sir. I sure can.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that too will mend, April, and you'll be on your way once again.
Yep, it's great. It'll be great.
Okay, Brenda Robinson, you're up. Get your hand up there. Where are you, Brenda? I think she was on here. I saw her name. But looked like it disappeared. Okay, well, we'll move on. And we come back to her if she needs. Jason, you got your hand up. Sure. Yeah, probably a good idea. Probably a very good idea. And don't be afraid to lift up your voice for what you're convicted on, because years ago there, you couldn't tell me the earth was flat. No way, not a chance. And I was at Shabbat at a big gathering there, and well, not a big gathering, it's a private house, and a bunch of us guys were in the kitchen. Where do guys go in Shabbat? You in the kitchen, because that's where the food is, eh? Anyhow, there's a bunch of us guys in the kitchen. We're all standing around yapping and laughing at these people that believe in a flat earth. Ha, 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 flat earth, you can't tell me that. Ha, ha. And in the group, there was a young guy there. He was about 18. And all of us guys had a big laugh and chuckled about it, made fun of it. He stood into the middle of the group and he goes, I believe in a flat earth. I have studied it and I know it's true. And it really shook me up, because here's a young guy, a bunch of older guys standing around, and here's a young guy. He stood up for what he was convicted on. That factor alone triggered me to study flat earth. I started, hey, if this young fella can stand up amongst all his peers and stand up and be one sore thumb in the middle, stand out, then there's something to it. So that's why I started looking at it. And I started looking at it, and about halfway into the first program, I started sitting up because I realized I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. Anyhow, flat earth. I'm going to move on here. Thanks, Jason. Charlene, you got your hand up.
Yes, I do. And just my 2 cents about flat earth. There's a lot of people that never ever believed in the creator. And when they actually take a look at the flat earth studies, they are believing in the creator, and that's awesome. So that's a really big testimony. And I'm convinced too, you cannot understand the creation week unless you understand flat earth. But aside from that, I have quite a few things to say. There is a gentleman that follows all of our covenant calendar teachings. His name is Brett. He is not able to come to Calendar Club ever for certain circumstances, but he does watch everything. He shares a lot. Actually, Stacy down in Texas, our Facebook Stacy, I might put him in touch with you. He called me today very concerned. He has been sharing a lot of our material on many, many posts. He said at least 20 different posts. And he usually has reactions very quickly after he posts something. He said today that he shared something, and I don't know what it was, on about 20 different places, and it was complete silence. So he called me to see if I knew what was going on. Well, I'm not on Facebook or MeWe or any social media at all, so I didn't know what to say. But he felt that was very strange, that there was not a single reply to one of the posts that he put up. So he was a little bit concerned that maybe our internet time or whatever the social media is out there could be very, very limited. Stacy, I'm just going to ask you right now, if you're there, Stacy, do you have anything that I could tell to Brett? Or should I just put him in touch with you?
You can put him in touch with me. That would be fine. But I have noticed that on Facebook, on the Facebook page, that we have had fewer views and fewer reactions over the last few weeks. And if I had to guess as to why, I would say that Facebook is probably shadow banning us. As they say, that's where they use an algorithm, and basically they're showing our posts to fewer people. Even if they've liked the page or followed the page, they just start showing it to as many people. And if you are on Facebook, maybe you've noticed that the pages that you've liked are not showing up in your news feed. Even if you go to the 3 dots and you select that you want to follow it all of the time, they're still not showing those pages in your news feed all of the time. So I think it's a form of censorship. That's my guess, because we were getting a lot more views than we are now. So perhaps that's what's happening with him. Did he say it was Facebook or was it MeWe?
Well, he mentioned those two for sure, but he said he posts in about 20 different places, and I don't know how that works, Stacy. So, but he did mention both Facebook and MeWe, and maybe WhatsApp is one of them too.
Well, WhatsApp, if I'm not mistaken, is owned by Facebook, so you would probably get the same amount of censorship in both places. Also, I think they own Instagram now. Somehow connected.
I can jump in with a little bit of a view on this as well. So censorship is definitely something that Facebook and YouTube and all those are taking more and more seriously, and they have been actively blocking a lot more and restricting content. But also, I would say that there has been a lot of people shifting away from social media. So a lot of our audience that maybe were on Facebook, a lot of people are actually leaving Facebook and leaving these other social platforms because they know that, like I think you had an experience as well, Stacey, where if you post something that, particularly if it's anti-vax, that seems to be the one that gets most of the problems. So if you post something that's anti-vax, then you're pretty much going to get your account silenced. So it may not be that our content is being silenced. It may be that the people that are actually viewing us are getting their news feed silenced. So they're basically trying to stop people that are advocates for anti-vaccine and so on to sort of shut up. So it may be more on that end of the persons that are normally interactive with us, that they're just not seeing the content as much because they're kind of being directed away from anything that they maybe even liked as a page. They're probably getting shown less. So I'm not sure that it's necessarily us that have been targeted. It may be our viewers, and that they're having changes done to their search results because of their behaviour. And I know there's people getting barred for certain times. They're being prevented from live streaming and all that kind of stuff because they've been interacting with what they would consider fake news. Or they're a Trump supporter, or they're there's lots of different things going on. I don't think it's our message of Covenant Calendar that is upsetting anyone. I think it's more the interactions. I don't think the world give a rip about Covenant Calendar, but they do give a rip about us interfering with their vaccination agenda. They do care about, someone speaking against Biden, things like that. So I would say it's more to do with that content than it is to do with our content on Covenant Calendar.
So this is a form of social distancing.
If he's a bit more of an advocate of also sharing content of, a anti-vaccine sort of message, then basically his voice is going to get silenced. It's not our message that's getting silenced; it's him. So I'm thinking it's more of that. People themselves are getting their accounts. If you share something, well, because you shared that, we're not going to share this. So it is very much them trying to control the voice of the individual. I don't think that our content, the stuff that we've put out, is on their agenda. It's more other stuff that they may have liked, and I guess that's even if you like an anti-vaccine page, or if you like a pro-Trump page, or whatever it might be, that kind of stuff, then that's probably going to mean the algorithm will silence your voice on what you say, what you share, because as an individual, we don't want you to be the voice that's out there. That's how that algorithm would work. I don't think our content is the issue. It's more probably the person sharing it that's the issue.
Okay. That makes a little more sense. Stacy, did you have something else to say?
Well, I think that they not only are silencing what people share, but they're also silencing what they want to see. So if they have liked a Facebook page, as I have on my personal page, I've liked many Facebook pages, and I'm simply not seeing those pages anymore. I'm not seeing the posts from those pages in my news feed. So their Facebook is censoring what I want to see, not just what I post, which they have done that too.
They
and
are.
penalize people.
Yeah, so Stacey, they are, but I think again because maybe you've shared stuff in the past that they don't like, and I think you mentioned that you had an issue with your account where they stopped you from posting and things. So they've obviously flagged something on yours. So you are probably getting targeted more so to censor some of the content you put out and maybe some of the content you see because they think that, well, if you see it, you'll share it. So maybe you're censorship than maybe the average person. But it's true that Facebook have done something with their algorithm, which is basically instead of letting everybody see it, they let a few people see it, and then based on what those few people do, then they respond. And that's not necessarily just, like I said, it's not about our content. It's more about the fake that was going out during election time, and so if anybody was posting anything about election fraud, well then they basically want to silence your voice, and so you weren't seeing anything in that manner. It's a very interesting world with social media because, and even for people consuming news online, because if you know how Google works, Google gives you search results that you want to see. So if you're sort of always clicking on, let's stick on the anti-vax stuff. If you've got an anti-vax opinion, then Google's going to show you more anti-vax news and more anti-vax information that supports what you think, versus giving you the. So it means that people are having unbalanced views of what's actually happening in the world because they're only seeing content that they actually like or content that they would be, more inclined to click on. So it kind of, social media becomes a really dangerous tool because it means that you can get results in your little bubble and not actually see the bigger picture of what's happening. So that's probably the biggest concern of just in general from people, consuming media through these algorithms that actually, favourite. So an example, if I like a certain brand of car and I start searching for cars, well, that brand of car will come up. I won't get information about other cars as much because it knows I like that brand of car. It's that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it allows people to have a very narrow view. I think that's what they probably picked on is some of those narrow views and then shut people down.
Wow. Okay, well, just to keep a watch on that. I just have one more thing to mention, and then I'll let Brenda go ahead, and I have some more after, but we'll do that after Brenda. Katie is not here with us tonight. She called me and asked for special prayer for Todd and for her. She was in tears, and I'm not at liberty to say. I don't have enough details, but please lift up Todd. He called us yesterday, and he is just beside himself. They did do that move. He's away from his friends. His friends are really missing him a lot. We just need to hold him up. He said, Charlene, I don't know what Yahuwah is doing. He said, I just don't know. But he said, what I'm going to do now is just be still. Just be still and just be quiet. So there's a lot of hurt there. A lot of wonderment. We pray for them, of course, every morning, every night. But please lift up Todd. He really needs to have our prayers right now. I see Brenda's got her hand up. So Tim, let's let Brenda go ahead and then I'll come back on later.
Door. I see it so many times where I live. It is so easy to see and so clear that the earth is flat. All you have to do is think about what you see in the sky. Where does the light come from? How does it get there? Things like that. And I'm gonna give a little instance here. Jeanette, where she grew up, there's a when you look from her place in the distance, about a 3-hour drive, you'll see the mountains. There's a very, very, very prominent, very distinct peak there. Of course, it's called Pocahontas because that's what it looks like. And it has to be a very, very clear day. You can't normally see it, but on a very clear day, you can see it. That mountain is jutting up into the sky, standing up there strong and proud. I did the math on that. On a globe Earth, the peak of that mountain should be about 1,800 feet below my vision. Yet, that mountain is standing about 12,000 feet up into the air. 12,000 feet up in the air. That's at a 3-hour drive away. Okay, there is not a possible chance, not even remote, that the Earth is flat when you look at that mountain. When you go out into the prairies, and Charlene knows what I'm talking about because she saw it here. I live right beside the mountains and right beside the prairies. One side is mountains, tall mountains. The other side is prairie. When you drive out into the prairies, you can be, I forget the proper kilometers, but quite a distance away, a few hours drive. You can look and you can see the mountains. Full height of the mountains. You can see the foothills, the bottom of the mountains, standing there. You do the math. Those mountains should not be in sight. They just should not be there. Yet they're standing beautiful. And I look at them every day. You know, it's things like that. When you look at the moon, where the moon gets its light, you know, when that moon is standing there, beautiful, just glowing like crazy. You know, it's about 5 in the morning, and you look towards the east, and there's another 45 to 50 minutes before the sun comes up. Before the sun comes up, and yet that moon is glowing. Where does it get its light? Genesis 1. Yahuwah divided the light from the darkness. He did, and I'll just repeat this again. He did not do something as foolish as to do something that he didn't have to do that was already done for him by his own creation. And to say that on a globe Earth, the light is divided from the night by the action of the sun going behind the earth. So why did Yahuwah have to divide the light from the night if it's already happens on a globe Earth? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's a flat Earth. Yahuwah divided the light from the darkness. Don't ask me how he did it. I don't have a clue. I just know when that moon is sitting there and it's just a glowing. It's beautiful up above that mountain. And in the east, it's black as black can be. There is no sun around that I can see. Where is it? It's way up in the sky. Flat Earth, people. There's so many proofs of it. If you want to look up a good program, look up Convex Earth. Go into YouTube and look up Convex Earth. It is a very, very good program. And Jason says, you mean the Earth is a ball? No possibility that the Earth is a ball. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Ken?
Yes?
Also, the information that Rex gave to us is important.
Yes. Thank you, Sue. Sue introduced me to a very dear friend of hers, Rex. He's not with us anymore. The man flew a L-1011 all his life, commercial pilot. And I had a great respect for him because of who he is. And this is quite a few years ago when I first started coming on to Flat Earth. And so I wanted to talk to Rex about it. And I sent him one of these programs on aviation. And I kind of tried to play coy. And I says, well, Rex, what do you think of this program? Is this true? And because he's an airline pilot all his life. So he sent me back a few days later, do you have another one of those? Yeah. So I sent him another one. End of the week. Do you have another one of those? Yeah. Sent him another one. 2 weeks later, he says, I now believe in flat earth. He says, all my life, he says, I have made extremely meticulous plans and my flight plans. He says, I am extremely meticulous. He says, there are certain flights around this world that never work out. He says, it does not matter how careful I am. My calculations and plans do not work out. He says, I now understand exactly why they don't work out. He says, the earth is flat. And that's just one witness.
Tim, also, along with that, there's some people here that know Alice DeLuca. Her husband, the same thing. When he got the book by Edward Hendry, he was also a pilot. I think it was in the military service in the United States there. And when he read the book on that Brenda got, The Greatest Lie Ever Told, he said he then understood why his calculations didn't work out. Same story with Hugh over in South Africa, same story. So we've had airplane and airline pilots that followed the rules of school, but they didn't know why things weren't working out. So Brenda, you can talk to Alice DeLuca. She'll tell you as well. And it was Alice and John that read only 30 pages of that 500-page book, if that's the one you got. There's one that's 1,000 pages, but they only read 30 pages, and they called me and they said they were convinced. So then I started reading too. Does that help, Brenda?
Yes, thank you.
There's so much proof. It's just absolutely astounding. But we all have our choice. We could believe the history books that say that there's a globe, and that when you go to grade 1, what do you have in your grade 1 class? Oh, you have a globe. Really? That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Anyhow, okay. Going to move on here to Faith. Faith, are you there? Got your hand up.
Yes. I think one of the things that I found very convincing is one day it just dawned on me that the heliocentric model that we have been presented, one thing that I find that it just dawned on me, why are all the pictures that we see of space from the space station and all these satellites and things, why do they all show space as being dark? If the sun is so bright that it reaches our Earth, which is supposedly 3 planets away from it, and there's 2 in between us. If it's supposedly so bright that it reaches us, the side that's towards it, and lights it up as light as day, how come all these millions of stars don't keep the heavens just lit up ablaze? And that really kind of made the model that we've been presented just fall apart for me.
Yeah, very, very good, Faith. I appreciate that. And then we go back to Joshua. What was it that Joshua commanded to stand still? Did he tell the earth, after you're cruising at over 177,000 miles an hour through space, stand still, earth? No, that's not what he said. He said, sun, stand thou still in the valley of Ajalon. Sun, stand thou still. Really? Yeah, that's what the Bible says. That's what Yahuwah's word says. So we have a choice. We can believe our grade 1 classroom teacher when he hands you a globe, or we can believe Yahuwah's scripture and look at nature and look at the evidence out there. And all we have to do is just think a little bit, like Faith just said. Just use a little bit of thinking. Look outside. Look up. We're told to look up. Thank you, Faith. Thank you for sharing that. Maxie, you got your hand up. Maxie, are you there?
How does the sun and the moon move then?
How does what?
The sun move.
How does it move?
Yeah. You know, you have darkness and you have light.
Yeah, Yahuwah commanded it to move, it moves. He divided the light from darkness. Don't ask me how he does it, I do not understand.
Well, where does the sun go?
He goes around and around above this flat earth.
Maybe I can just answer it simply because I haven't had time to look into every question, and I have some questions too, Maxie. But if you have your kitchen table and it's night and the kitchen is dark, if you take a flashlight and you hold it up, that flashlight will spread the light onto only a portion of that table. So wherever the sun is moving, it's the light from the sun shines on a portion of the earth. So that's kind of the best way I can explain it. Like if you put your flashlight closer to the table, you will see a definite circle where that light is. So when you move it, it will light up different portions of the table. Does that help a little bit? Kind of a grade 1 explanation.
The moon. Okay. Does the moon? It reflects the sun, right? Or not?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what makes the curvature like you have a moon eclipse?
Have what?
A moon eclipse, like you have full moon, you have new moon, and then it eclipses, so it's round, where supposedly the earth is between the sun and the moon.
Well, I think that's a good question, Maxie. And if Jason's doing a flat earth PowerPoint, he just might have the answer because I don't have that answer.
Oh, okay.
I don't have that answer.
And is there such a thing as gravity then?
Yep.
That's why.
Yeah. They cannot prove gravity. Looks good, smells good, tastes good, but can't prove it's there.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so you have the North Pole supposedly. If it's flat, why is that cold?
Because that's the inner part of the circle. It doesn't get touched as much. Yeah. Yeah. It's it's a lot of study. We don't have all the answers on that. I promise you that. But what I do know is there's a massive amount of information that proves a flat Earth over a globe Earth, and that's not even talking of the Scripture. Then you come to Yahuwah's word, and it comes right down to it. Who do you believe? Your creator or some scientist that's paid by? Well, I won't say the word. Anyhow, moving on here. Hey, Eric, you had your hand up, but you took it down. What happened?
Well, I was just Jason beat me to it. I was saying it is a theory. It is not proven scientifically. So everything Jason said, but I will add one other thing to it. I was in the submarine service for 8 years, and all of our charts are all done underwater, and all the charts are flat.
Oh.
There is no round earth underneath the water. And I'm not even divulging classified information.
So tell me, Eric, how do you get that dome shape for the oceans?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not happening. There are valleys, just like you described the mountains with the plains. You have the same exact thing underneath the water. There are mountains, there are valleys, it's all mapped out. We have oceanographers that have naval oceanographers that have mapped out the entire bottom of the whole. We know that the Marianas Trench is more than 22 miles deep, and we know all that stuff. So there's no way it could be on a round sphere. It's impossible. You couldn't maneuver. Ships, the submarines could not maneuver, and the ships would not be able to even stay afloat if it were. So.
But you're saying it's on a round, flat disc.
Well, yeah, because there's a barrier around. There's an ice barrier completely around.
Yeah.
The saying is flat as a pancake.
But there is and so what is that? What is that barrier?
Ice.
It's ice.
Antarctic.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. It's
there's that one explorer that documented, and I forget what his number is, so please don't quote me that number, but it's something like he documented 66. Yeah, Admiral Byrd.
Admiral Byrd. If you just go to Admiral Byrd, look up Admiral Byrd on YouTube, you can see everything. So
he documented something like 66,000 miles of sailing. And that goes right like around the Antarctic, and it's nowhere near that big, not on the maps. So it's an ice ring that goes around around the whole Earth. Also, there is testimonies by people who took an auger that like what you normally auger into rock, and they took it down there and they augured into this ice. And I forget the exact numbers, but I believe they had a tunnel into the ice, and I forget how many miles. It was 3 or 4 miles deep, and the tunnel or the ice is actually malleable. The ice collapsed in behind this machine, and they could not get the machine back out. It is still there today.
Right. And one other thing too, not that I want to open up another can of worms, but since we're on this, Stacy was mentioning Tartarus earlier, and one of the things I tell people, and I don't try to convince anybody, I just tell them where to go look. But the thing about Tartarus is with Admiral Byrd and all of this. If you say to people, why would President Obama go down with the Pope and the head of the Eastern Orthodox Church and go down to the South Pole to do a religious ceremony? And all you have to do is look up Obama, the Pope, and the Eastern Orthodox Church, and you'll see that they were all down at the South Pole. Why would they do that? And if you try to charter a plane or charter a ship to go explore the South Pole, you'll find out that you'll get stopped very quickly when you reach a certain destination. And also I told people, I said, just look up John Kerry. Why would the Secretary of State, John Kerry, on Election Day in 2016, fly all the way down to the South Pole on Election Day? And look that up. You can Google that, and you'll see that he flew down there. Could it be that he was trying to appeal to the people who are in charge down there to please let Hillary win? I mean, who knows? So sorry I opened up a can of worms, but these are things that I notice that a lot of people don't notice. That it's like, why would they go to the South Pole? It doesn't make any sense. So
There's so much information out there you can study for just weeks and months and years on it. And go for it, because it is interesting stuff. But don't let it get in the way of studying about Yahusha. That's number one.
So is there a dome over this flat disc?
Yes, there is, absolutely.
Or is it square?
No, it's a dome. And you know, the crazy thing about it is even what's that stupid that comic, that goofy man there, help me out here. Oh man, I can't with it. That's that adult comic. Simpsons. Thank you, Jeanette. The Simpsons, the creator of The Simpsons, know that there's a dome over the earth because a long time ago they made a program that showed exactly what happened in the days of Noah. The windows of the heavens opened up and the water fell through. The water opened up and come through. They know there's a dome out there. It's so simple.
So is the universe water?
What's that?
Is the universe water?
There's an awful lot of water up there. Yes. Massive, 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 massive water.
So do we have planets?
Oh, yes, the planets and stars. Yes, Maxie, do you remember those ornaments that you used to be able to buy? Maybe you still can, where they were flat and they had a dome and they were filled with water and you could shake them up and all the little. Okay, that's the best picture that I can think of. It's like that. Okay, so the Earth is flat as a pancake and you have that dome, and inside that dome is all the heavenly bodies, that were created, but underneath that flat Earth, of course, is where you have your oceans, and down at the bottom. So I see it like this. If you're blowing bubbles, it's like it's a sphere, but the top part is the dome, and then the underneath part is where that abyss is, that darkness, that we talk about in Genesis 1:2, the darkness upon the face of the deep. So that's why I say, if you understand the flat earth concept, that even the first two verses of Genesis 1 make a whole lot more sense. So you need to get that book. There was about 7 ladies. Yeah. April might have it, but there was about 7 ladies that ordered it from Edward Hendry. And if you mention my name, he will give you the book 50% off. So it's quite an interesting book. And he gives you all the history.
Why I was asking if it's a dome versus square, because it says a new heaven and new earth, or square.
Yeah. That's the New Jerusalem.
That's the New Jerusalem.
And that's thanks for bringing that up. That's another one. Okay. We had clear my throat here. On this earth, we had an earthquake in Japan a number of years ago, and it took the earth and it tilted the axis of this earth, and we are now on a different axis. So tell me, what's going to happen when the New Jerusalem comes down and lands on this earth? You want to talk about tilting the axis of this earth? Can you see this earth speeding around 177,000 miles an hour with this massive city sticking out like a great big wart? Can you cruising around at this speed? Come on. Sorry, this is a flat earth and it does not move. It's Yahuwah's footstool. It is stationary. It's just the way it is. Anyhow, let's move on.
So you're saying that this N-word, they are making up the pictures of the solar systems.
It's all CGI, computer graphics.
Okay.
It's all it is, and it's proven. It's proven solidly. You cannot get a solid picture of this Earth from space. It does not exist. In a globe form. It does not exist. It is all pictures pieced together. Look at the pictures. Look at how the cloud formations are. The cloud formations are all duplicated with each other around these pictures. It's just absolutely hilarious. And we as people, and me included, accepted it. Why? Because I was never taught any different. I just accepted what I was taught was true. You know, they told me I live on a globe. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
So the firmament. Do they know how thick that is, and do they know what that is?
I don't know if they know how thick it is. No idea. Daoud, you got your hand up. What's that?
Yeah, on the firmament. When Admiral Byrd was down in the. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
When Admiral Byrd was, I think it was 1949 and 1950, when he was down at the South Pole, they had a mission. They called it Operation High Jump, and they knew that there was an ice barrier down there, so they sent a flotilla of warships. I think there was like 13 warships that this was shortly after World War II, and they sent them down to the South Pole, and they tried to explore the firmament, and they sent a lot of missiles up into the firmament trying to see how far it was up there and trying to penetrate it. SpaceX programs going off, and look at some of the YouTube videos of these rockets that are being shot up. They appear to pierce the firmament, and it looks like a missile hitting a body of water. You'll see the light refracted through the water. You'll see the wave motion as it spills out over that. So it's very likely that these are the waters above. He separated the waters above from the waters below. Conversely, when we was talking to somebody here that was in a submarine, I remember doing some research a few years ago, and there was a bath escape. I forget the name of it, but that's a vessel, a deep sea vessel that's capable of going down into the Marianas Trench and at great, great depth. The pressure is extremely high. Thousands of pounds per square inch, where atmospheric pressure is like 15 pounds per square inch. But when they went down in this bath escape, they had portals that they could look out, and they had it illuminated with lights, and they could see where the surrounding they were in. And they looked down, and there was nothing below them but a few of the deep sea creatures, and all of a sudden they bounced, right? And they're looking at each other trying to figure out what's going on. So they come back up, and they try to go down further into the water, and they bounce like a basketball bouncing on this. And then they started looking at close observation at what was out there, and it appeared to be waters beneath the waters, a fourth dimension of water. We have what, gas, solid, and a liquid, but there apparently is a fourth dimension of water that isn't penetrable by our third dimension existence. So another thing that the Navy shares with the aeronautical industry, or aviation industry rather, is when an airplane goes up and it levels off at 30,000 feet at 500 miles an hour, it goes on autopilot, and they can go for hundreds and thousands of miles on autopilot. All right, and they don't go off and break out of the curvature of the earth and go off into space. The same is true with a submarine. When it goes down in the water and they arrive at the depth that they want, they put it on an autopilot and it goes straight. You know, they don't have to make corrections for a curvature of the earth, neither the airplane or the submarine. So all these things are provable. But I want to say this as well. This flat earth thing, when it came out here, and it's pretty recent. I mean, there's been a flat earth society around for 100 years or better, but it just took some real traction 10, 15 years ago. All right, so that's when I started to learn about it, and I actually got on to talking to Eric DeBay and Mark Sargent. I don't know if anybody recognizes those names, but they were people that were really in the know with this. I got a phone conversation with Mark Sargent. What I got way back then in like 2011 was this man was of high influence politically. And I look at other people that are really speaking a lot about the flat earth, like Rob Skiba. All right. He also got a tremendous military background of great importance. All right. So I'm trying to say that he's pretty well connected. So at some point I started looking at all these things, and it occurred to me that this flat earth is a psyops from the governments of the world. All right, it's controlled release information. So you got to keep that in mind when you search these things out. Jason mentioned that you don't want to have anything to do with the Flat Earth Society because that's controlled opposition. All right, so they're going to give you a little bit of truth, just like religions of the world. You know, they draw you in with the light, the truth, and then suddenly you're like the moth attracted to the flame and you're catching your butt on fire. You know, it consumes you. So we have to test and prove everything along this. I can remember for a while they were teaching or saying that the moon gives off its own light. It's a cool light. It's not like the heat of the sun, you know, and they postulated an experiment that you could go out with a digital thermometer and measure something in the moonlight and then measure something in the shade, and there would be a 10 degrees variance in that, and the moonlight was actually cooler. Well, that sounded great, and I tried it, and it worked. But the theory for that is that the moon gives off its cooler light, but that's not what's happening. What's actually happening is that when you measure it in the shade, the radiant heat of the earth that has accumulated during the day when the sun's out is raising the temperature. Okay, so that's what's going on with that. But you got to test and prove all things and realize this. I don't say that I live on a flat earth because that's the control that they have put out there. This earth is too big, it's too magnificent for this puny human being to know the totality of it. I can't get up high enough to view the whole thing to say whether it's a globe or it's earth. Well, I know it's not a globe, you know. I absolutely know that, but I don't know that it's a flat earth and that it's a disc shape. It makes logical sense to me, you know, but I have to take that at face value. I test it and prove it as best I can. I know the scriptures say that the earth is circumferenced by a barrier, so the ice wall makes great sense with that. You know, so these things are logically sound, but the finality of it is that I'm just a puny human being. You know, and I have to take as my foundational truth, the scripture, the word of Yahuwah. And when I go to the Torah and I see how the Torah words these things, you know, then I know that I've got my feet on a solid foundation. No, and that I'm not on a spinning ball running off into everywhere.
Thank you, Daoud. Well said. Very good.
So is heaven above the firmament?
The throne of Yahuwah, I believe, is above the firmament, yes. And in the center, above the congregation of the north. I think that is where his throne room is. And the earth is fittingly a footstool beneath that. So that would put him in the center above everything.
So that is the floor of sapphire listed in heaven.
That, I believe, is the firmament, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's the firmament of heaven, and then the waters above the firmament, and then the heaven, the dwelling place.
You know, Charlene, I should have pressed record long time ago. You know, these times when you think, well, no, I'm not going to record today. Wrong. Betty, you've been waiting patiently, just with a smile on your face. You got your hand up. Go ahead, Betty.
I was just going to encourage Maxie. Don't try to swallow it all in one evening. It's huge. I was introduced to it probably 8 years ago, but at that time I was also coming out of the church. And so that was my priority. And I just kind of tucked it away. I thought, well, that's interesting. Well, then I think I really got into it by some things that, maybe Danon said at one time, and so I started looking into it, and it's very interesting. There's still I'm with you, and I still haven't grasped how the sun and moon and everything moves. I haven't quite grasped that yet. I just haven't found the model that'll show me. But anyway, my main thing is don't try to swallow it all tonight. Think on it, pray on it.
Well,
it's amazing.
April's been pushing me on it for a while.
Ah, okay. Well, you're in good hands. You're in good hands.
April, that bad girl.
I know. I don't know what has gone over me.
You mean you want to believe what's written in the scriptures, April? Come on. Oh, very, very good. Good conversation on this. Charlene, you got your hand up.
Yes, I just want to change the topic a little bit. It's been very interesting, but there is something special that that I had sort of planned for tonight along with Moses. And he did say I could call him Moses. It just comes out of my mouth before Kevin does. And he said everybody calls him Moses. So there has been a lot of things happening in the camp of Deanna and Moses. I don't know if Deanna is still here with us tonight or if, I can't see her right now. But there's been a lot of activity. And these two precious Covenant Calendar members joined us approximately at Day of Atonement last year. I think Deanna was the first, and Moses followed just a day or so later. And they have been very active, very busy. But on my first phone call with them, which was about an hour and a half, just around that time, this is what Moses said to me. He said, well, I just want to sit back and learn. I've just got so much to learn. I love it. I'm just going to sit back and learn. Well, it didn't take very long, and he has been busy along with Deanna. But I want Moses to open his microphone. And he has told me that Pakistan has opened right up. He's been doing some classes with Pakistan. I think he found them through Facebook. He's going to give us a little bit of a history on that. But we have a great need here. And guess what? We only have one Moses. We probably need 10 of him. But Moses, can you open up your mic and just give everybody an idea of what's happening in your camp and what you see, how you're teaching, what the platform is all about. Are you using Zoom or what? Just let everybody know what's happening so that we can know how to pray for you and so we can know what the need is, and maybe there'll be somebody here that can join you. Go ahead, Moses.
Okay. So it all started on Facebook. I've been on there and I've been sharing the truth ever since I came into this knowledge. And there was a guy from Pakistan who came to me and we started conversating and he started asking questions about some of my posts. And so we got to talking about that and sharing, and he's still in the modern Christian religion, or he's, I don't know how to state that really, because he's at a different place now. But he was like, so JC is not the name of the Messiah? And God is not the name of the Father, and we're talking, and I'm like, no. And I'm sharing the true names with him. He's like, wow, I've never heard that before. So he said, would you be willing to teach a group of the people I pray with. I was like, no, I don't think so, because I had this idea when I first came into this knowledge. I don't know anything, and I just want to sit down. I want to learn and grow and just blossom, but quietly, very quietly. So now I'm looking at him when he asked this question. I'm going, no, I don't think so. So he goes away for a little while, and we don't talk anymore for a little while. And he pops back up, and he says, "How are you?" So and I get to talking to him, and he's like, "Are you ready to start teaching us some of the truth?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not sure yet. Can I pray about it? Can I pray about it for a little while before I give you an answer?" So I started praying about it, and then it was like, okay, he's seeking the truth. There's nobody there to give him the truth, and he's asking you. So why can't you share with him the truth that you know, the little light that you have? So I felt impressed to go ahead and start sharing with him. And then he's like, well, I need you to share this with the group. So I'm thinking, it's 1 or 2, maybe 3 people. It turns out it's about 20. And so I'm sharing the truth about that with 20 people. And so that begins to be a regular thing happening. And he asked me to do it on Sabbath, not knowing anything about the Sabbath. He didn't realize he had done that. He just was asking a specific day. So already we're into another level of truth that he's not aware of at that time. And we're sharing and we're going back and forth. And I'm dealing with him and we're growing. This little group is understanding. We're laying the foundation to debunk the Trinity because they were real strong Trinity believers. So we had to tear that down. That was the first thing we worked on. While I'm dealing with him, there's another guy from Pakistan that starts talking to me. And I start sharing some of the truth with him. And he's like, I didn't know that. Can you share with us what you're sharing with this other group in Pakistan? And I'm thinking, okay, now this is getting interesting. Here comes another group. So and I'm thinking, this group is going to be about the size of the other, and it's bigger. It's bigger than the first group. And they're receptive and they're receiving, and I'm still having to tear down this Trinity thing because for some reason they're really staunch in that. So, okay, we're working with these 2 groups and we're moving along fine. And the guy who started the first group said, well, I want to start another group on Tuesday for the teenagers. Would you be willing to do that? So I'm like, I don't know anything about dealing with kids, not really. I said, but I guess I'm open. I said, I'll let the Father lead me and he'll give me what to say and we'll do that. So now I'm up to 3 groups. And so I'm ministering in these 3 groups, and the teenage group is pretty big too. It's not small either. And the other 2 groups are adding people every week. It's like it's getting bigger and bigger right before my eyes. And so now I got teenagers, and their group is getting bigger. And it's like, wow, what is really happening here? So I'm going along with these 3 little groups, and suddenly here comes another one, another person from Pakistan. And I'm talking to him and sharing with him, and he says, well, I got this group. Can you share with this group? So I'm thinking, well, it's getting a little tight now, but yeah, I'm willing to do that. And I'm thinking this group is just going to be about maybe 20, 30 people like the other groups. This group is bigger than all the groups. And I'm going, okay, now wait a minute. This is getting a little bit out of hand. Now, I didn't ask for all this. And Charlene laughs at me all the time because I keep telling her, all I wanted to do was sit down and learn. I didn't want to do anything else. And here we are. I got 4 doors that's open. And so, and I'm busy. I'm constantly busy. And so, and I'm thinking, there can't be anything else. Surely there can't be anything else. And I'll be doggone if I didn't look up, and here comes another guy, and we're talking, and he has a group. And he says, can you minister to our group? And I'm going, now this is fine. You talk about blowing the doors off Pakistan. You know, I kind of named this thing Winning Pakistan. I didn't know that was literal. I didn't know it was going to open up like that. And so we're all building this strong foundation of truth, and I'm about to take them into Torah. We've been building the foundation of tearing down the Trinity, understanding how we got wrapped up in this sin thing and what the purpose of the Messiah was after I established really who he was. And so now that's that's where we are right now. We're about to start going into Torah. I just introduced them to the Sabbath last week, and they received that really, really quickly, really well. So, you know, it's awesome what's happening. But at the same time, I'm really getting spread really thin. And I've had to turn a couple away. This week, I had to turn a couple away because it's just one me. I can't be everywhere. And I keep trying to get them to do Zoom, but for some reason, they don't want to do that platform. They want to stick with the Facebook Messenger. And so I can't get them all together, and they're pulling me so thin that I can't take on any more groups. I just can't. So I was talking to Charlene about it, and she was saying maybe I need to start delegating some of these groups to someone else that could help me out to help me carry this load, because it's really getting way too big for just this one little meat to handle. And first of all, I'm really still in that mindset that I want to sit down and learn. And I don't have any time to learn because I'm constantly sharing. And I come here on Friday nights on Sabbath, and I get my little food, but then I have to give everything away. So I don't have nothing left for me. I don't have any real time to do the digging I need to do for my own personal growth. And I talked to Daoud yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that I talked to him about maybe if somebody else comes to me, would he be willing to take on a group from Pakistan? Because it's just opening up so big, so fast, and it keeps growing. Every group is bigger than the group before. And then every group is steady adding people every week. So it's just like, it's massive. And the way that it keeps opening up, and I'm having to turn them away now because it's too much. So anybody that can help me, I would really appreciate your help. And I'm not sure how open they would be to somebody else, but we have to do something different here. We can't keep going wide open like this. Anybody got any ideas, or is anybody willing to throw in? Because Deanna does as much as she can, but she's not the teacher. She's not open to do any teaching any groups. And that's my partner. They call me Moses, and I call her Aaron. She's my Aaron. So when she can't help me with the group, she gives me advice. She's already said I'm taking on too much. She's been telling me that for a little while now. So now I agree with her and Charlene that it's time to start moving in another direction. So if anybody's got any feedback, now's the time to give it to me.
Can I say something here now, Kevin?
Absolutely.
He has tried several times to get them to move to Zoom, and I think we finally came to an understanding as to why they can't. We're talking about a very poor country, and these people work just to be. I mean, everything that they make goes into food and the absolute necessities. So as far as technology and computer devices and things of that nature, they do not have that. And it's a trek for them to go from one town to another. It's not like just jump in the car. A lot of these people go by bicycle, from my understanding. And they can't afford extra electronic devices. So only one person has the device, And unless he can go there, then they cannot participate all at the same time. So that's the understanding that we've come to at this point. And I just wanted to throw that in because Kevin kind of forgot that part. But anyway.
That's why you're my
So,
Aaron.
Yeah, so is this being done, like, let everybody know, is this being done on a speaker phone, like on a phone? I know you're using a translator, but is it on a speaker phone so everybody can hear? How does that work, Moses?
Yes, they can hear me, but the translator does most of the talking for me. They can see me through the phone because he makes sure they can see my face so that they can get a face attached to the voice. But then the translator does the majority of the talking to them. I read the scripture, I tell him which scripture to read, and then he echoes whatever I say.
Yes, and let's not forget that Moses and Deanna are doing 2 study nights a week. I think it's Sundays and Thursday nights as well. And I know Daoud is entering into that to help a lot. I see, Daoud, that you have your hand up. Can we have a word from you, please, Daoud? With your microphone on.
Yeah, I'm very interested in doing this, and I think a lot of people probably here tonight are as well. So I want to kind of touch on a few of the logistical points of this. You mentioned that this takes place early in the morning because of the difference of the time zone. So we'll need you to speak to that a little bit. Also, I've talked with people in India and South Africa, and they've had translators too, but I'm wondering, how good is the translation? Is it very difficult to understand the translator because of accents and things like that? If you could fill us in a little bit with that.
The actual times break down to be 6 a.m. my time, and I'm in Central Standard Time. But that's in the afternoon for them. That's between 5 and 6 in the afternoon for them. And then there's one group that I meet with at 5 a.m. my time. And as far as the translators go, when they're talking to me, they talk to me in perfect English. There's no confusion. There's no misunderstanding. I know exactly what they're saying. They know exactly what I'm saying to them. And then they translate that to the people. And then if the people say anything back to them, then they translate that back to me.
I'm wondering how the translators work out. You said there's several different groups. Is there a translator for each group, or is it the same one that would have to go in between all of these groups?
There are different translators, but the leaders themselves have the ability to do it themselves. They just would rather check me out in scripture. That's what they're doing. While the interpreter interprets and gives them what I say, the leader is looking through scripture. He's following me through scripture. And that's what he would rather focus on and have the interpreter do the interpreting. But now they have the ability to do both. He can listen to me and talk to me and interpret what I say just like the interpreter does. That answer your question, Dowd?
Yes, and then I guess the final question I would have is, how do we get this thing started? If I wanted to do this, and I do want to do it, by the way, I'd just jump on a meeting with you. You'd introduce me, and we take it from there.
Absolutely. That would be the easy way, and of course it's easier because you have a Facebook with a messenger. So that's how I do all of my communicating with them, is through Messenger. So what they would do is they would befriend you, and then they would private message you, and y'all would begin a dialogue. And when they got ready to let you do the teaching, they will call you through Messenger, and you'll communicate straight through Messenger to them. They'll see you, they'll hear you, you know, it's set up normal, like you would be talking to me on Messenger. So it's a real easy process as far as that goes. The hardest part is getting the two of you connected and getting them to trust you enough to let you teach them. That may be the only drawback we have. I think I was telling Charlene about that, is that they've gotten used to me and they know me. So they trust anything pretty much that I can direct them to as long as I can show them. They trust me. They would have to develop that same kind of rapport with whomever that comes. Probably for the first 2 or 3 weeks, we would have to go in together. We would have to do it together and let them get familiar with you and how you conduct yourself and what your teaching style is, and let them kind of wean away from me just a little bit. I think that'll be the only way to do it, Dowd. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't want to just throw you on them because they wouldn't handle that well. They don't know you.
Right.
If that makes sense. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense, and let's get her done.
Okay. Okay,
Now, Moses, I have a question too. If there's others on this panel that would like to come and join you just to be there as a support, is there any way, like if there was 5 people here tonight that said, I want to come with you on Sabbath, is there a way for people to do that and come and support you and get to know them? How does that work?
According to another friend that I have there in Pakistan that I got on hold, he wants to come, and he says there's a way to merge everybody through Messenger. But I'm not tech savvy. Deanna will tell you that's not my strong point. So I don't know how to combine everybody like that. If I did, that too would help with this process. So anybody who wants to come, if you know how to link me to your messenger in a way that we can come together as a group, then I can do that. But it would have to be somebody who knows how to set that thing up. And then I'd be glad to have you. I'd always be glad to have you because I need the support. I know you, but they know me. And the backing is critical. And the support is critical because who knows? You might have something to add to what I'm saying that'll help shine more light on them. And that's what they need right now. They're like babies. They don't know anything that we know. And they're just hungry. They're just so hungry and so willing and open to be taught. It's fertile ground. It's really strong, fertile ground. And that's all I'm going to say about that. What you got, Betty?
I just had a question for you, Kevin. I look at this panel and I see a number of very, very capable teachers. But because of that culture, would it have to be a man? I just thought that was something that we might need to know.
You know what, Betty? That's a good question. I've not asked them. So I guess that would be something I would need to address if there was a female that wanted to step up and do some teaching. I personally don't see anything wrong with that. But this is not my culture. This is their culture. And the way they look at women over there is totally different than the way we look at women. Now, I do know that much. I'm clear on that. But these are different people. They're each one of them has their own personality, and they lead their groups in totally different ways. It's not the same with every group. So I don't know, because so one of the translators in one of the groups is a woman. So she actually does the reading of the scripture to them and the communicating for me to them. So if that answers your question, maybe with certain groups we could use women and they wouldn't mind. But I don't know about the other ones. I would have to check on that. Good question, Betty. Thank you.
I'm going to say, just my acquaintance through church organizations is that male-female is important. Now, they have been receptive to female missionaries, but within their own groups and their own caste system, you have to work with the male presence.
Need to read Lisa's chat. Lisa wrote, my friend's husband lives in Pakistan. He is a pastor there. He is waiting for his visa to come to the States. Maybe he can help out with ideas. Thank you, Lisa. That's a very good idea. We could make some inquiries there. That could be some help too.
Yeah, I'll talk to them tomorrow.
That'll be great. Can you get my email out of here and send me an email so we can talk?
Yeah.
Please do. I'd appreciate that. I need all the help I can get. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, I'll set it up with him. His name is Aref.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
Deanna. Go ahead, Deanna.
Okay, go to the next hand here. April, do you have some help for Moshe?
No, I was kind of hoping that he'd help me because I put some things on Facebook, and this last week I got the most response I've ever had, which is puny. 3 from one section and 9 from another. So that's the best I've done. And I don't know what topics to address. I addressed the Sabbath a few times. And I've addressed a couple other things, but what did you do to catch their eye?
That's a mysterious thing, April, because all I've been doing is sharing posts and scriptures here and there. I didn't do anything special. That's how I know it was Yahuwah opening the door, because it was nothing about me. There's nothing special about me. I'm not glamorous. I'm not this world-moving speaker. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, that's what I've used as scripture, and I don't know, not batting too well.
Hey, go ahead, Deanna. You're waving your hand there. Go ahead.
I can tell you what he does. If you go and check out his page, he inundates it with memes and screenshots of scripture and who Yahuwah is. And I mean, it's constant. When he does get on there, and this is not meant to sound bad, but he'll throw out 30 in a matter of minutes.
Oh.
And so he's constantly feeding into it, so people see it a lot faster, and he uses his story a lot as well. So if you post to your story, that? Kind of spreads it out more. That's another method. But yeah, Kevin will post like meme after meme after meme of sometimes it's a scripture, sometimes it's just a picture with Yahuwah's name and Yahusha's name, but he does it a lot. So it just increases his feed.
What did you mean by a story?
Like if you go, you can post to my story or post to my page. It's another option that's on there.
Okay. I'm really, really not very good at this. So
it's
do you
hard
have
to
a
explain.
phone number that you could give to Charlene, and Charlene could give it to me, and maybe I could talk to you?
She has our number. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You call either one of us. Call either one
Thank
of
you.
us. Charlene, hook her up.
Moses.
Yeah.
Moses, I got a suggestion. If you could email me the friends that you're talking with on Facebook, then I could friend them as well. And I could probably sit quietly in the background and observe this and let them come to me. Is that a possibility?
I guess that is a possibility. And that would give you a chance to build a rapport with them on a personal level, away from the group first, so they can get a good idea of who you are. And yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. I'll do what I can do to get you that. Understand, I'm not tech savvy, so it might take me a few minutes to iron it out the way you want it. But bear with me. I'll
help you. I'll help.
Yeah. Just give me the names, because I already get an abundance of names for friend requests, and a lot of them are from Pakistan. I don't know who's who on that, so I got to glean through that. But if I know the names that you're associated with, and they appear on my friends list for a request, then I can click on it and accept it.
Okay. And I'll even, if you want to send them a request, I'll let them know who you are and that you're sending them the request, so that they'll be open to accept you.
Okay.
I hope it works that smoothly.
Yeah.
Johnny,
Moses, you might go ahead, Tim.
Johnny's had his hand up. Maybe he's got a suggestion or to help or something. Johnny, you there?
I do not. I was just going to comment on other things that have been talked about. So if you need to continue here for a minute, I can wait.
Okay, maybe we'll continue with what we're doing. Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Moses, I think it's going to be really important that you let your groups know that you love them very much and that you see the need is great, but you're going to have some helpers come in to help, and that it's good helpers just like you are, and that you're going to come and visit the group every once in a while, occasionally, just to see how they're doing. And do let them know that you are busy and you won't be able to do your best work for every single group if you don't have some help. And if Daoud comes in to help you, that would be just super, and maybe there'll be some others as well, where you can kind of work together as a team. And if you need to have a week off, there'd be somebody there to take your spot, where they get to know at least two of you. We've got some plans to make here because there's 5 groups, and he's told us that every week when he comes, they're bigger than they were the week before. And he told me he's having a hard time keeping straight what he's taught to which group because there's so much going on. And with it not being on Zoom, this must be an incredible challenge. It has happened so quickly that we have not been prepared for it. And Moses has been, rowing the boat alone. So, Doe, thank you for, coming here to help and with such a willing spirit. And maybe there's others, but how do you feel about that, Moses?
I think that's wisdom. Like I said, I'm open. I just know that this thing is much bigger than me. So I'm open to all the wisdom and insight I can get. And you and Tim have been at this thing for a long time, so y'all have a lot of insight that I don't have. Like I said, I just intend to sit down and learn. And here I am, I'm more active than I thought I was ever going to be. So that's all I got to say about that. Go ahead, Doug.
I just wanted to acknowledge something here. While you're talking, it brings a couple of scriptures to mind. The parable of the talents is one of them. And then the other one is a sower who went out to sow seeds, some 30, some 60, 100-fold. So Yahuwah is baruching you according to the measure that you're reaching for. So I just want to acknowledge that about you, and that hope that and pray that you see that within yourself, that Yahuwah is doubling down. He's given you your 10 talents and more with this.
That's very humbling. Very humbling. Thank you.
It's very exciting too to see this going on. It's exciting. What more can I say?
Anybody else? Anybody else got anything?
Okay, let's move on to Johnny then.
Okay, so we have to change gears here a little bit. I want to throw a theory of mine out there and just see what kind of response I get. I believe that originally we were created as light beings, and we were given a skin at the fall, okay? So just to kind of put that in perspective. But what is light? And to go back to the movement of the luminaries, how they move. And I believe that it's all an electrical, I can't think of the word that I want to use here, electrical function. Okay, we know that we are electrochemical beings. I believe that the Father is the ultimate electrical being because we are created in His image, but we are now covered in skin and we only have a remnant of what we once were. And the visible essence of electricity is light. The physical essence of electricity is heat. And we know when He comes back, it's going to be with brightness and fervent heat. And we also know for a fact that our home here has a lot of flux lines. And that can totally explain the movement of the luminaries. It's all electrical magnetic force. So I just want to see if someone will comment on that.
Isn't that the same magnetic force that produces what we have been taught is gravity? That magnetic force is actually pushing down instead of gravity, which pulls down. Is that? Am I speaking out of the turn there, Johnny? Or?
I have a tendency to lean more to density on that issue. What goes up must come down.
Okay.
I think you're right on, Johnny, with the electrical theory. Electrical, though, is just a minute spectrum, part of the spectrum of what's going on here. Everything is frequency. Everything is modulation, whether it be light or sound or anything that we can experience has a modulation or a frequency to it. And a resonance is when you can receive that or when you can match that. So these things that we're looking at in the skies, these luminaries, they interact, I believe. I spent most of my life as an electrician, and I've seen several of these things that can be duplicated in the electrical spectrum and working as an electrician. For example, the circuits of the sun and the moon, I believe, interact with the electromagnetic Earth. And that, I believe, is what's actually causing the phases of the moon, from full moon to crescent moon and so on. This can be duplicated, and I've seen it and had my hands on those materials that render a good duplication of this as an electrician. So for me, that seems to be what's going on. Now, I don't know that for a fact it's plot, but from what my experience of life is, I'm 69 years old, I do know that everything is a matter of resonance and vibrational frequency. So light vibrates at a specific high frequencies, our radio communications, our internet communications, all of that, our electrical currents that come into the house are modulated at specific frequencies. That spectrum is very, very broad, and we are limited in our understanding of these things. And you spoke a bit about gravity, and I also believe from my experience that it's not at all gravity. It's been misnamed with that it's a matter of simple buoyancy, density, if you will. Lighter objects or heavy objects tend to go down, and lighter objects tend to go up. If it's lighter than air, they'll rise. If it's heavier than air, they'll go down. I believe it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and when I work in power generation too. When you're talking about frequency and resonance, we have to look at the moon too. It's reflecting light, but it's not necessarily reflecting all of the spectrum, and that's why we see a different color and a different temperature, because we're not seeing that full sun spectrum after it's reflected.
Look at the language of scriptures. It's written several times in our scriptures that says, let him who has eyes to see, him to have ears to hear, hear. Those are both resonance and frequencies. That's what it is. When somebody comes at you with a word of truth, if you can receive it, it resonates with you. When I keep it at that simplistic way of looking at it, it opens up me to an understanding that everything in scriptures is within the laws of physics. When we look at the transfiguration, that too is within the laws of physics. It's outside. Teach us about these things. They say when he comes back, for we don't know much, we shall be like him. Right? So we also will be these new bodies, these light beings, and be able to transfigure too. All that fits within the laws of physics. We have to expand our understanding of these laws of physics. Look at where we are at today. We're getting robots to do everything. We're talking about or Elon Musk is talking about the hooking the brain up to computers and downloading, from one person to a computer, the total memory and awareness of that person. These things are within our realm of being capabilities. We know this to be true because when the Tower of Babel was built, Yahuwah says, let us go down there, confuse their language, because whatever they set their mind to, they will be able to do. I can take a small electronic device and go to any country that speaks a different language than mine is, and I can communicate with these people. That brings it back down to one language. If Yahuwah did not cut these days short, then no flesh would be saved, because mankind has got within his knowledge the ability to do whatever he puts his mind to. All of that is resonance and frequencies, modulation. It's all within the realms of physics.
Well, and Elon Musk wouldn't even be trying some of these things if he didn't know that even thoughts are an electrical impulse.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only way a machine...
EEG will prove that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're muted, Tim.
Thank you, Johnny. Kathleen, you have your hand up. Did you have some comments on this?
Okay, yes, now I can understand about electricity. Well, anyway, when you're going to a holistic doctor and he's having you hold on to two electrodes He can tell almost anything about you because, if you're under stress or if you're having whatever is going on in your body, this is like that. To do with the electrodes. Can you imagine? They can tell everything about you in that respect. I know it because I've had it done.
I never run into that myself.
Yes, it can tell, if you're happy or sad or even whatever too. Like I say, if you're under stress, it can tell that, or if you're a perfectionist or something like that, as well as other health conditions.
Interesting. Kevin, got your hand up.
Yeah, I got another thing for the platform that me and Charlene and Doug talked about. This week has been interesting as far as an attack on the truth we know. We have dealt with some situations about people bringing certain types of information to us and catching us off guard, not really knowing how to address some of the stuff they're bringing. And it's kind of, I told Charlene, it kind of made me mad, the way it affected some of the people it was presented to. And it affected them in a way that it made them second guess some things. And I didn't just see it with the individuals I'm speaking of. I deal with a lot of people on Facebook all the time. And it's happening to other people just like it happened to us. And they're not knowing exactly how to answer or confront this issue of people coming with these different types of partial truths. I think that's the way I can say it. And some of them is just outright lies. But they come in a way that you don't really know how to address them, or at least I don't. And I'm kind of trying to get a little insight. And Charlene gave me a little advice. David gave me a little advice. So I'm not just blind. But Charlene thought this would be something good to bring to the platform to see how you would deal with some of these type of situations if it were presented to you.
We're listening.
So maybe I'll just jump in here. And basically, there is so much out there now with the internet. And there's every wind of doctrine is blowing around, and some of them are true and some of them are false. But it's very often the case that when somebody is new and they're learning, that they are bombarded with a lot of information that they don't really know how to package or where to put it, or how to figure out if this particular teaching is true or false. Lots of times the teaching can just throw them for a loop, and they don't know what to do with it. Now the teaching can be completely false, but yet, it just sounds so good. It just sounds like there's maybe a ring of truth to it. And I think what Kevin is asking is that what can we do to help people that are in these situations to ground them a little bit? Now, generally, what I'm finding is that people that are new or they haven't had a chance to ground themselves in the scriptures, it's really, really hard to say to them, well, you need to stay with scripture, because they don't know where to go. They don't know how to study. They need some help. And I think Tim and I can speak to that, because when we started out, I'll just use the sunset issue as an example. Tim, did we really know where to start of how to peel this? Somebody told us that sunset was wrong and that the dawn day was the truth. And we're sitting here like, what do we do now? Right, Tim? Is this like, we didn't know what to do, right?
it's better to stumble along and do something than to do nothing. So you have to move forward somehow.
Yeah. Okay. So Tim, what did we do?
Stumble.
We did kind of look around on the internet, but at that time there was nothing on the internet. And the only thing that we could do was go to the scriptures. But we can now admit, 10, 11 years later, that we really didn't know how to figure this out in the scriptures. And you know what? It was tough slugging. We just had to figure it out. And at the same time, we were sharing because we thought this was so wonderful and everybody was going to love it. But it didn't turn out that way. We got stabbed in the back and we got hunted down pretty bad. We went through about 7 years of just being broken and bruised and bleeding and you just name it. But yet we stuck with the scriptures. Kevin is wanting to know, and so are we, is how do you share? How do you befriend somebody and walk them through and say, look, let's do this by the scriptures? Now, in the calendar studies, we've been really surprised, at least I have been over the years, that we have learned how to study the scriptures in a very interesting way because we were not taught. Even though Tim and I are both raised in families with a Sabbath keeping for 5 generations on both sides of the family, and Tim's got missionaries and pastors up the gazoo in his family, so certainly he should have learned something. But we sort of discovered that we really didn't have any Bible study tools. So the things that we're sharing with you, just in calendar teachings on how to study the scriptures, those basic principles work for any study. It's not just for calendar. But you know what? It is so easy now. 15 years later, 11 years later, the internet is just busting with information. Now, the internet can be a good tool, but for somebody that's new and not grounded, how in the world are they going to sort out, well, this is not truth, but this is very, very difficult. But it's our experience, even with calendar, that when people are challenged, they go to the internet first. They'll go there first instead of go to their scriptures. Why? Because it's easier. And they can get the information at a click of a button, where if they're going to study it from the scripture, first of all, they don't know how. And secondly, they maybe don't know some of the basic skills of how to read and study and research. It's hard work. Come on, let's face it. It's hard work. You have to sit down and apply yourself, and not just for 5 minutes. So what I had suggested to Kevin, if he comes across this, with others, because he said, I just got really mad. And I don't blame him, because we have been there too. We have gone through all those emotions of anger and denial and bitterness and why can't you just listen to me? We've gone through all the emotions as well. That's okay. It's okay to travel through those emotions, because that's just the way it is. But somewhere along the line, we need to say, you know what? I know there's a way through this. If we can help our buddies or, people that are around us that are, coming into these situations, and walk them through it a little bit, it might be helpful for them, and we'll learn at the same time. Now, Kevin said he just wanted to sit down and learn, okay? So this is one of those learning experiences. I would highly suggest, that you would encourage people to figure out how to do this by the scriptures. Get them into the scriptures. Is there any magic key, a golden key, that would calm them down or give them the assurance that they can do this? We'd just like the panel to speak to this. Anybody? And maybe, Tim, you have something to say while others are getting their hands up.
The golden key is time. Spend your time. It's going to cost time. You got to pay your due diligence. You got to put in the hours. You get your topic. You write down every verse known to you that has anything to do with that topic. And you got to go through each verse. You got to get the context, each verse. Then you got to, once you figure you have that, then you got to start all over again. Go in and get the context of each word. Look at each word. Step by step. Does it take a long time? Absolutely. But if you want truth, That's what you have to do.
Daoud, do you have something to say?
Yeah, my experience and what I observe is pretty much congruent with the way people have been presented scripture today. Everybody in the Christian religion can probably identify with this, that the first scripture they learn is John 3:16. All right, so they start at the end of the book, and then very few of them ever work backwards from there. They go forward and they go in grace, and they get all hung up on grace, think they've got it all, and they're content there. But those who are not content are the ones that we want to address. So what I found we can do, and this is bearing out with Moses in our study group, because we started back at the beginning. We started right in Bereshit, Genesis, right? The instructions are the first 5 books, the Torah, his instructions, his law, okay? So if you're going to equip somebody to enter into a kingdom, then they have to know the instructions that pertain to that kingdom. So that's basic. That's the approach that I try to give everybody or present to everybody. And it's humbling because I know that I'm going to learn things that are new to me. Every time I go back over this, it's like giving and receiving have come so close together, I can't tell which is which, and that's the favor of Yahuwah when he deals with us in this way. So this is as much for me as it is for the person that I'm communicating to, so I go in and look at this as, okay, I'm going to go out and get a treasure tonight, if I got to study tonight. And that's the way I hold it. And at the same time, I try to share that treasure with the people that are with me, and I think that's worked pretty well for me. And the group that Moses had started, it seems to be working pretty well for the group. The group is growing pretty large, and everybody is well fed when they attend a meeting and they go away from the meeting. They all say that they're well fed on this thing. So we got to meet people where they're at, because that's what Yahushua has done with us. Yahuwah has met us where we're at, and he's taught us accordingly, right? So we're all well aware that the biggest part of this thing seems to be that we have to unlearn those things that we've learned in order to clear away the wreckage, so that we can build a good foundation, because all this stuff that we've learned is not on a solid foundation. It just isn't. It's collapsing all around them. And that's why they're looking. That's why they're coming to us. We got to keep these thoughts in mind and address that, because that was our experience. That was my experience. When I cried out to Yahuwah, the first thing I said to him is, bring out those things that are done in darkness and secret, and reveal them to me so that I know what is true. And he started breaking down all these things, the flat earth and the 110 towers and all this stuff, 9/11, all these different things. That's what I got first, and that's what I could digest and process. But then he took me immediately into Torah. And who doesn't do that? We come into this truth, and we're immediately subjected to Hebrew roots, or we're subjected to Messianic, right? Which is all Torah based, right? But then, we have to sort it out and not become a Torah terrorist in the process. But if we remain humble and teachable, Yahuwah walks us through that process. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing, Dowd. I appreciate that. I appreciate your comments. And I have to chuckle with Kevin there. He says he just wants to sit down and learn. Well, Yahuwah's got a different idea for you. You may not be able to sit down, but you are going to learn. In your doing, in your teaching, you are going to learn big time.
I tell you, Tim O'Shawn, I don't know whether you remember him or not.
Yes.
He teases me and he says, Yahuwah doesn't need your permission to have you do anything. He just opens the door and pushes you through it.
Yeah. And he says, don't fear, for I am with you.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Kathleen, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Okay. So he's using a laptop to communicate.
I am.
Okay. So, I guess maybe, how would that be if, you need to train some teachers over there people to be teachers or facilitator or however, right?
Well, they're leaders of the groups. They're already teachers. They just don't know what we know. They're just learning this. This level of truth is brand new to them. They have no clue. They have no clue.
So they really, when you got on there, somehow they got a hold of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
It all came to me. I didn't go looking for it. I just get on Facebook and share the truth. And
well, anyway, y'all knew that you were available.
He didn't ask my permission. He didn't ask my permission.
You got your hands full now.
I do.
Praise Yahuwah on that.
Okay.
Okay, Maxie, you got your hand up. Are you there, Maxie?
Yes, I am. I find everything's based on questions to find out where they're at. And I separate, first of all, deception. My goodness, that's how I came into it, is finding out that Yeshua wasn't born on Christmas Day.
True.
But then and then I separated into two other categories. One is milk. Paul talks about the milk. I think all of us have had that. That's the church way of grace and Jesus and everything. That's pretty simple. And I have a feeling, we've been good missionaries around the world on that aspect. My husband and I were in the ministry for over 33 years. I tell April that we were good pimps. We pimped the gospel. And then when I came into the meat, I was excited about that because I didn't ever know what that was. And then I think Staley, Jim Staley, had some videos. Matthew Nolan had some videos on the marriage proposal, on the Malky. That's the meat. And so I tried to get them there by asking questions, that they move into the meat, because that has not been told for 2,000 years. And just some ideas. So there's a lot of good teaching out there pretty quickly. But when I got that, what I realized was the marriage proposal. Then all the numbers added up for me.
Yeah, thank you, Maxie. I know Charlene encourages me to ask questions. Ask questions. Don't make statements. Ask questions. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Maxie. Appreciate that. I did not know
Yeah.
your background that much. I had no idea. So thank you.
But I think we have to be careful that we learn how to ask the right question, a simple question that we know that that person could probably give the answer, and then ask another question where we get them to think logically of what would it be, because a lot of things are just logic and common sense. But learning to ask those simple questions like Yahusha did, that's a science and an art, and that's something we all have to learn. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but Tim and I try to do that in our teachings. We try to ask a lot of questions to get people to generate their thinking process, because people aren't thinking very much anymore. There's so much information bombarding us from the internet, from messenger, from texting. I mean, people don't even use proper language anymore when they're texting. Everything's a shortcut. Everything's fast. We're bombarded so much that we're not slowing down to think things through. So we need to be really careful on those questions, and you need to think about that. And that's something that Kevin will be wanting to use with the Pakistan group, because they are learning. So maybe, Dawood, you'll be able to help him in that area, or you can help each other. Yeah. Any other comments around that, Johnny and Joan?
Well, I was just wondering if anyone else had a chance to read the High Noon paper you sent out. That might be good discussion for this topic. I don't know if anybody else read that, but did you have a chance?
Yes, I did, Johnny. I did send that out to about 10 people. It was a paper that was sent by a lady by the name of Beverly Wheeler about the Sabbath beginning at high noon, not at dawn day, and definitely not at sunset. And by the way, I want to say to those that did get it, that are here tonight, thank you. Just about everybody responded with something. And so, Johnny, you gave me a really good response. Why don't you just go ahead, and there might be some others that will follow you.
Well, I'm not sure they can follow if they didn't get to read that interesting piece of work. Because, yeah, she's saying that Sabbath starts at high noon, and because of Ben Ha-Harbarim, but it's just a mistranslation according to what we all know here. And also, my comment back on the paper for those that have read it was that she is still worshiping the moon and doesn't even realize it, because she is starting her month with a conjunction moon, and she is claiming a 13th month every 3 years, just so she can come up with 156 weeks in 3 years. I believe it's 156. But you have to follow the moon perfectly, because she has 29 and 30-day months to accomplish that, and it's not possible unless you're following the moon. And she claims that she's not following the moon. So that was my response. But
anybody else? Just looking to Tony, Anthony. Are you there? Do you have something to say? He was most interesting in his comments to me. I wonder if he's here listening. Anthony?
Yes, I'm listening.
There he is.
I agree with Johnny. She doesn't have a correct understanding of the phrase Ben Ha-Ibrahim. And so what I did was I took one of Tim's teachings and I condensed it down just to the portion where he explains the phrase Ben Ha-Ibrahim. And I mailed it to her with a nice letter. And I got no response from her. And I also found her on Facebook and sent a friend's request. And she didn't respond to that. And so I also noticed within her little noonday study, the teaching that Tim does on Ben Abraham also covers the word evening. So basically, within her understanding, she thinks the word evening means high noon. So she just kind of pulls that out of thin air. But anyway, she goes on to take a bit of the rabbinical beliefs and uses this as her basis, I guess. And then she'll take the Catholic version of the crucifixion and ties it all together. So since I didn't get any response from her, and I don't want to be pushy shovey with stuff, I did find her Facebook page, and I posted a link to the 6-day crucifixion thing there. Maybe she'll watch one of these. I hope. I prayed for her several times, and maybe I should just continue to pray for her, because I do have a tendency to give up really quick sometimes. But I think we got to gather. It's a privilege to gather people into the kingdom, but sometimes too, we got to dust our feet off and move on. I have a brother that, oh boy, since this COVID thing came out, I would talk to him on the phone, and I would mail him links to these teachings and this and that and the other, and he talks to me as if he believes, and I would send him things about don't get the vaccine, this, that, and the other, and so come along, the pagan Xmas day coming up on this day. I didn't call him on that day because I don't follow this stuff anymore. But I waited to a few days after, and then in my heart, I was told, don't call him on that day. Don't call him on that day. and the guy, I called him 3 or 4 days later, and the first thing that came out of him was, well, did you have a happy or a merry? And I thought, oh boy. But anyways, so he talks like he agrees with me, and he even listens to a ministry that teaches against this. But I had to brush my feet off again and not talk to the guy no more, because he went straight out and got 2 of those COVID vaccines. He's just scared to death of this thing. So anyway, I don't know what to do. I pray for him. But as far as, and maybe prayer is the best thing. I mean, Neil was talking about Facebook. I've been posting Matthew Nolan's the Melchizedek series, and then he's got another one, Clearing Up Covenant Confusion. I post those 2 repeatedly, and I post links to Covenant Calendar, our webpage, and the YouTube page, and I've noticed that I get no responses whatsoever, not one click. So maybe more prayer. I don't know, and if nobody talks to me on Facebook, I do most of the reaching out and searching out. Sometimes I just click on add friend, and look for people who are interested. But as far as the Beverly and her noonday, I was thinking, because I don't want a Bible beater, or what they call it, Bible thumping. I wanted to like prayer to come and study with us, but she's just absolutely not responding. So good luck with your Pakistan, Kevin, because that's great that people are responding. That's all I got. Chatted enough.
Yeah, you're right, Anthony. You're right, Anthony. There's only so much that you can do. You can't push a person, and unless they're receptive a little bit, it's just very, very difficult. I've had to walk away from people too.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I
used to like think I knew what the truth was, what the gospel was, so to speak. And when people would talk to me about it, I would just firm up and, You act like I'm listening, but I don't know what happened. I mean, I would kind of explain it this way. It was years ago. My son was about 4, and he was just old enough to talk and stuff. And we were going to do the second Christmas for him, and we had all the presents bought. We had the tree up, and it just dawned on me that, and I'm going to church, but my wife wouldn't go to church with me. But I absolutely positively believed in the Messiah. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. Now, I believe what the word says, and now I'm going to lie to my son and tell him there's a Santa Claus bringing him presents. Then what's going to happen later in life when he wants to rely on the truth? Is he going to think it's the same as Santa Claus? He's not really there. So I told my son on that second Christmas that Santa wasn't real. Well, you know what happened? My wife's whole family, because I lived out in California and they were the only relatives around, it's like they doubled down on Christmas and Easter. They turned Easter actually into like Christmas too. They were giving presents to each other. And her sister, one time on a Thanksgiving, we had a big meal at her mother's house, and she said, "Tony, would you like to pray before dinner?" And I reach out and I start to gather everybody's hands, and she just blatantly yells out, "Jesus is a lie. He's a crutch." And they started laughing at me. But anyways, make a long story short, that was the beginning of my life changing. That was early 90s. And after I got a divorce, I moved back to Illinois, and I was going to all the churches in Illinois trying to find the truth, because I just couldn't believe that we were supposed to go to a Sunday service, listen to a rock concert, just the music almost as loud as any rock concert I've ever been to, and watch a bunch of people up on stage singing. And then the sermon was all about giving money. And so I just left, and I started looking online. I found, like somebody mentioned, you fall into the Hebrew roots, and then I ended up took a while, but I ended up the Torah to the Tribes. And I studied with them for a long time. And this is kind of odd and interesting, because I studied with them before the COVID hit. And then he went into I think it was a Revelation series right along with this COVID stuff hitting. And I started finding myself just riddled with fear and anxious after every one of his Sabbath teachings. And I thought to myself, well, this ain't right. And then I was looking on their site, and I had been signed up with this covenant calendar stuff, but I never listened to none of the teachings. And I started listening here, and I thought, wow, this is great stuff. And believe it or not, I went back and I posted covenant calendar stuff in a Torah to the Tribes group. And they told me I couldn't post that stuff there. And I asked him why. He never really gave me an explanation, because I told him this Torah to the Tribes website links me right to their stuff. He never gave me an explanation, but after praying about it for a while and listening to your guys' study and hanging out here, I don't have that anxious, fearful spirit anymore. So I was just thinking, you know what? I'm supposed to be here, not there.
Praise Yahuwah. Thanks for that testimony, Tony. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the truth casts out all fear. Yeah, that's wonderful, Tony, because we have found too that there's been a lot of fear mongering going on this past year, and we need to get beyond that. So thank you for your testimony tonight. And I just wanted to add to that, for those that did get Beverly's part 1 and part 2, I've answered her 2 times and I've never heard back from her. So I thought, if I'll take your responses and I'll send them on to her, or if you want her email, I'll share that. I don't think it's her study. I think it's maybe David, that is the head of the group. I haven't researched it out, but somebody said there's a David. Maybe he's the leader and she's just putting stuff out there. But it could be that Beverly doesn't know how to answer the questions. And so you know what happens. They just won't say anything. But maybe they're learning too. Sometimes, what's the saying? Still waters run deep, right? So maybe her quietness, maybe she is looking, because I sent her a lot of links to look at as well. So Tony, let us know. And I know your kind spirit and your email that you sent to me was very sweet. And by the way, everybody, Tony was so convicted that he wanted to do something for Beverly to help her in her learning journey that he wrote me and he said, I'm doing a PowerPoint. I said, well, that's good. It might take a little while. And he said, I'm going to start right now. He sent me an email. He said, I'm starting today. And I said, well, that's even better. And you know what? The very same day, he sent me a PowerPoint. And I said, I'll look it over. And I looked it over and, did just a little tweaking for him and sent it back. And he did not wait. He got busy and he rolled up his sleeves. I just went, that's what I like to see, is somebody that is that convicted that, maybe there's something that they can say that will make a difference in this person's life. So everyone, give a hands up for Tony. He really did step up and he did something that was great. I see that Johnny still has his hand up, but he must have something else to say. Johnny and Joan?
Well, Tony brought up the 3 days and 3 nights that were in that paper also. And that would be mass confusion for some also. He said he divided the light from the darkness, not by the darkness, to where you have 6 hours of light and then 12 hours of darkness and then 6 hours of light to complete a day. That is way out there. I mean, it's kind of a rabbinical / I don't know.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. And it just struck me because when I read through it, when Tony said something about the Catholic 3 days and 3 nights, I thought, so I clicked back on that real quick, and yeah, you could say that. But it's a little bit different division of time is all. Because the Catholics actually start their day in the middle of the night instead of the middle of the day. So it's just a little bit crazy.
Good exercise for people to go through it, though. Yeah. Go ahead, Charlene.
I did not have a chance to read these papers again this time. Can anybody tell me, was she using Deuteronomy 16:6, I think it is, where it says, at the going down of the sun? Because I was wondering, at the going down of the sun, lots of people using the high noon meridian, and at high noon, that is where the sun begins to go down towards the evening, and a lot of them are calling that evening at high noon because that is where the sun begins to go down to twilight and then night. Does she use something like that? I was wondering.
Yes, she's wicking that with Ben Ha-Abarim. That's how she's getting there.
Oh, okay. Because I did write her back about that and told her that the context of that verse is completely about Passover. It has nothing to do with day start. Of course, we did all of that work in those 3 studies, of between the evenings. Last year was in August. And so I knew that she totally missed the context. But everybody do know, I think it's Deuteronomy 16:6. And Tim and I puzzled over that verse for many, many years. We didn't understand it. But you know what? The clue, well, I remember calling Tim up last year. I don't know around July and saying, do you know what, Tim? We had to read the first 6 or 7 verses in order to know what's going on. We never did that before. We were just reading that particular verse. Somebody should look it up. It might be verse 8. But that was our mistake. We didn't read the verses that came before it, and so we didn't have the context. And that's probably exactly what's happening here. So that was a very simple thing. If you read the context, and you know it's totally about something to do with the Passover sacrifice. And how many people remember that study that we did on at Deuteronomy 16? I think it was the last study in that set that we did. It was a fun study.
Yeah.
And Tim, you better raise your hand.
Another proof that they're trying to use is atonement as far as when the Sabbath starts, because of the evening command there.
Confusion. Big time. So what are we going to talk about tomorrow, Charlene?
Well, we are going to do this. We're going to do the same thing. We really do need to bring the Pakistan project to the Sabbath group so that they know what's happening. We really do need to do that. And whether it's at the beginning or the middle or wherever, I believe that Moses, I hope that he can be with us. I know that he's got a study at 6 o'clock in the morning. So whenever he arrives, hopefully he'll have some, he won't be too tired out to give us kind of, another, whatever summary like he did tonight. So that's what we're going to do. We're just, did you see the announcement? We had to have a surprise tonight because things weren't ready just like we planned. That does happen. So we just said, Covenant Calendar members, they're going to be able to figure this out. And if Sabbath doesn't figure it out, well, we'll just get done early, I guess. What do you say, Tim?
It's fine with me. Yeah, I think, we should just cover what we did. We covered quite a bit of ground tonight, and it went pretty well. It was a very interesting conversation. Yeah, it was good. Sometimes this needs to be done.
No. So I guess we're ready to close with prayer, and we should remember, by all means, Todd. Who's ever saying closing prayer tonight? Let's remember Todd, and especially Moses with the Pakistan group in the morning, and then we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow.
Who would like to close us out with prayer? Neil in South Carolina, would you do us the honor of closing us out with prayer? If you're there, Neil. Maybe he's not there. Do we have a volunteer? Betty, would you volunteer? After I ask you?
Oh, Abba Yah, you were so present with us this evening, and we are so thankful. We felt your presence. We felt your guidance. We felt the love that you expressed through the people on this panel. We thank you for each and every one that joined us this evening. We raised Todd in prayer tonight. Whatever the situation is, we understand he needs you, and we are trusting that you are there right beside him. You have your hedge of protection around him, and we're trusting that you will bring him through whatever he's facing. We just be with us as those of us that are about to observe your Shabbat, and those that are just ending theirs. What a wonderful gift you've given us. Thank you for all you do for us. And we look forward to being with you again in the morning. In Yahushua's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Betty. And I like that. We look forward to being with you in the morning on that great day. You bet. Well, it's been a very good evening, everybody. It's been very nice to have everybody's comments, and I really appreciate it. The participation is great. Thank you. So I think I'm going to sign this out now. So Shabbat Shalom for tomorrow. And first of your day, Mr. Lee, Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks. It was great.
Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Bye,
shalom.
Moses.
Shabbat shalom, one and all.
Shabbat Shalom, Jerry. Okay.